right. Well, thank you, everybody. I'm AJ Ansari. I'm the Chief Operating Officer here at DSWI. I've also been a Microsoft MVP for the past 6 years. Being an MVP means that I'm an evangelist for Business Central and for the Microsoft technologies. I spent a lot of time, even though I'm not on the delivery side as much anymore, I spent a lot of time learning about new products and new technologies from Microsoft and sharing them with y'all. A couple weeks ago, we talked about Microsoft Power Automate, a great tool for process automation across all the systems that you use, over 500 different systems. And today I want to talk to you about Copilot, the AI technology from Microsoft. Now, you've probably heard a lot about AI and GPT and generative AI experiences and Copilot. I'm here to tell you a little bit more about it, maybe demystify that some for you, and see how, as companies that are in the mid market and SMB space, how you can put them to use best. Larger organizations, enterprise level organizations, spend a lot of time and a lot of money getting this technology in. I think as companies that are in the mid market and the SMB space, we are a little more conscious about our budgets. I think we're not a spendthrift, so we have to look a little bit closely at should this tool be used? How does it work for us? Who does it work for in our organization? And I think those are some of the questions I'll answer for you today. So before we get too far, I want to share a small sizzle reel video with you that Microsoft produced. I'm going to stop sharing my camera as well, but let's move on with this. John, tell me if you can't hear the audio when this starts up. Oh, by the way, this is my QR code if you'd like to reach me on LinkedIn, where I'd love to engage.
Well, straight to the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop. Stand still, that's the motto. Yeah, brand new bands for the auto. Oh, foot to the ground, full throttle. Big energy for the night like lotto. Y'all talk lots, never this quiet. Life like a Seinfeld plot. Vault full of songs, all of them bombs. Something like a minefield guy. Boom. Get it, tickets running out quick. Bet it, never get it outbid. Said it, never had to shout it. They said I couldn't ever do it, okay, how's it? Fit a week worth of work in a minute. Machine well oiled, you know how I stay efficient. To do list written, I do this different. Hold up, wait a minute, I ain't finished. Okay. Look, flows the same now. Paved the way to snakes and fakes are chased out. Back to back to back, I changed the pace now. Had to stack the cash until the bank's out. Straight to the top, never going down, don't wait for the drop.
So aside maybe from the questionable music that they use, well, it is good to get people excited about things here. But now, yes, when you move on from that, one of the things that you probably noticed, like I did, is this. Oh, let's try to move on from the slide. Is that this uses some of the applications that you use every day. All those screenshots were screenshots from Microsoft Word and Excel and Teams and PowerPoint. So the most important thing I want you to remember when we're talking about Copilot and the conversation we're going to have today is that it's going to be built around some of the same tools that you use, and it basically enhances them, much less than having a whole separate tool set for you to start using. Now, Microsoft does have a habit of creating marketing names that mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So, if you are familiar with the Dynamics name, for instance, that Dynamics name could be for Dynamics 365 Business Central. There were other ERP systems from Microsoft also called Dynamics. There are CRM systems, there are field service applications, and so on. Much in the same way, the Copilot brand name is used for across the board for a lot of different experiences and a lot of different systems from Microsoft. So today we're going to focus a lot of our time talking about Copilot for Microsoft 365, and that's the experience around the Office applications. But they're also Copilot, or essentially when you hear that, I want you to think of artificial intelligence or generative artificial intelligence, machine learning experiences, these experiences for other tool sets from Microsoft as well. For Dynamics 365, there will be a time and place to talk about some of the things that Microsoft is doing around Business Central. They're still kind of at the very beginning stages with the automation experiences that they have for BC. But then there are some experiences for Power Platform, for security, for Microsoft Windows, for coders and developers in GitHub. But today, like I said before, we're going to be spending more of our time talking about the embedded experiences that Microsoft's created across Word and Excel and PowerPoint and Outlook and Teams. And what I've done is I've shared some uh, firsthand created demonstrations with some demonstration data to show you how people in your organization might consume and benefit from those experiences. Now, as you think about what you can do with Copilot for Microsoft 365, this is a good slide. It kind of really just sums up very nicely the things that different people in your organization might want to do. Uh, Whether you want to create content, that content could be you saw the ability to create a PowerPoint slide, or if you're looking for in Microsoft Word, you'll see me come up with some really nice examples later today in our demonstration. Some great examples of creating and editing are going to be shown today. Another couple of things that it does really well are the ask, catch up, and understand. So if you've used any kind of AI experience so far, like ChatGPT or Gemini, or maybe you've had a chance to play with a little bit of Copilot already, one of the things you can do is you can talk to it like you talk to a human, and you can type in natural language. You don't have to have developer scripting knowledge. You're basically asking it questions like you'd ask your friend sitting next to you, and it can source information from a lot of different places, and it can make your research ability a lot faster. And if you would like to summarize or catch up or understand things that you've missed, it can go look back at notes from meetings and it can tell you what you missed, and it can tell you what your action items are. It can help make sense of large amounts of data. And back in every time there's some new technology, there's a major revolution. A few new words come into play. I think when automobiles came around, everybody would compare, and we still do. We think of automobile power as horsepower, and I think AI, in so many ways, will be thought of as brain power. How many brain powers are you putting in? Because it's not that we as humans can't do some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. It's just that in some cases, or in more cases than not, AI tools can process large amounts of information rather quickly. So you'll be able to process hours of video and be able to get some key information about what was in the video, or an Excel spreadsheet. You'd be able to quickly analyze some data that you might spend a chunk more time doing yourself. So that is really what it's going to be able to do for you, right? Do things for you quicker, do things for you better. And really, at the end of the day, it's not meant to take over for you. It's meant to be an assistant to you. And I think once we start thinking of that, then some of the doomsday type of prophecies you might have heard about or read about with AI taking over and the world coming to an end, those just kind of fall in the backdrop. Yes, the AI is there's always been this conversation, this discussion about AI becoming sentient and taking over the world and us becoming slaves to AI someday. Maybe that happens, but we're so far from it. And today, where we are in the march to AI, is more about it being a productivity boost to us and for the work that we do. The other interesting thing I want to quickly share about, if in case you haven't heard, AI has not just been around for a couple of years. If you've followed it, AI has been around since the 1950s, and machine learning and deep learning, those type of experiences have been around for a long time. It's just that in the last few years, the conversation has become more mainstream, and we are talking about taking these AI experiences and not just making them available to people with a lot of money or large corporations and research organizations, but also to everyday businesses and everyday users, consumers, citizen developers. And we have also entered a time where, after maybe 6 decades of AI growth and technology progressing slowly but surely a little bit kind of growing, to we're now going parabolic, and it started to grow very fast. Every day there are new tools. Every day there are improvements to tools that you have. It can do so much. Whether if you think we've all seen and heard about tools like ChatGPT and Dolly, where Dolly can generate an image simply by you typing something out, and so on and so forth. And there's so much you can do that is for the fun of it. But today I want to talk about real world business experiences and how you and your team can benefit from that. So, quick thing about pricing. Microsoft has published pricing publicly, so you may already have heard about it, but if not, I wanted to share a little bit. You may see some information about Copilot Pro and Copilot for M365, and you're wondering what's what. All of us who are using Office 365 or Microsoft 365 in the business place use Microsoft 365 E3, E5, Business Standard, Business Premium, and so on. Those are the for business licenses or for enterprise licenses. Copilot Pro is another tool that's available, but that's for student and home use, and we do not license and use them in our businesses. So you can ignore this column. Anytime you see Copilot Pro, you can ignore that. What I want you to know is that Microsoft has your Copilot experiences and what you can get under the Microsoft 365 Copilot column. It's $30 a user a month. You are required to purchase them for the whole year at a time. So it's a pay annually, license annually type of model at this time for Microsoft. But if you do get it for a user and that user is no longer at the organization, or you decide you would like to assign that user to somebody else, that license to somebody else, you can definitely do that. So you're not locked in with that user. You do have to stay with that license for the whole year. There are some very simple free experiences that Microsoft makes available, which they just called your Copilot, and they're available in your Bing browser. Sorry, in your Bing search through your web browser or through your Microsoft Windows. If you have a Surface laptop or some of the newer versions of Windows 11, you might see a little Copilot icon at the bottom right of your screen. You will see that in one of my screens as well later when we go through our examples today. But for the most part, to benefit from the experiences that we're talking about, you're going to need the Copilot for M365 licenses. You do not need them for everybody in your organization, so you may want to experiment with a user or two. Get a better hold of an understanding of how they can help your business, and then roll them out to other people in your organization. And there is also the ability for you, and we'll talk more towards the end about it, to extend those experiences with your information, with your business data, and get even more value out of these Copilot and AI tools. So with that, let's go through some simple use cases and experiences. And I want to start off with a conversation around personas. So when you think about Copilot, I want you to first think about the different people in your organization. You have people who are in the on the front line doing a lot of maybe order taking, order entry. They could be out in the field if they're field service people. There are people who are doing, more of the information gathering than maybe information entry. Then you have folks who are in the management side, your controller, your bookkeepers, maybe who need to crunch through large amounts of information, make sense of your financial data that might be out there. You might have executives in your organization who might be interested in predictive experiences so you can see how your business is going to perform in the future. You might want to be able to different people within the organization who may or may not have made a meeting may want to understand what they missed in the meeting and look at the action items. So if you have some team members who are looking for information on a meeting that they missed, want to know the action items that they had, or get a good, meaningful summary, in the past, you would either need to tap on the shoulder of somebody else, or you would probably need to go watch a whole recording. In the meeting, if whether it was 30 minutes or 2 or 3 hours, you're sitting there trying to watch all of that information and make sense and gather information from it. You may have people in the marketing team who are responsible for creating great marketing experiences for your website, maybe for content and collateral that you need to create. And you may sit down and meet with key people in your organization. And at the end of that meeting, now that marketing team has to make sense of all of that information and parse through it. And I've got some good examples of real world examples of how in our conversations with our marketing team, we've been able to put Copilot to great use for us. So with that, I'm going to start off with some demonstrations. I'm going to walk you through these, and these use everyday Word, Excel, PowerPoint type of productivity tools. And to give you more value for the real estate, I'm going to shut off my video again, and we'll just go ahead and start going off of my screen. So the first experience that I want to start off with is just in everyday use. And this particular part of everyday use is, I think, going to apply to all people within your organization. Now, if you are using your Microsoft Edge browser, or whether you're using, Chrome, you can still, or Firefox, you can use these experiences across all of those. And also, if you're in certain versions of Windows, let me go ahead and leave the PowerPoint slide for a second. You'll see at the bottom right of my screen, you might find a Copilot in Windows Preview. So if you see that, you can access your Copilot by clicking that. It's going to show up on my main screen. But if not, if you have your browser, for instance, and like I have my Edge browser open and I'm already on some kind of a website, you will find that I have my Copilot prompt right over here. You will automatically see a web experience, and your web experience in Copilot is going to allow you to search for any kind of information. It'll gather information from the external web, and then Work will let you gather information that also relates to things that you have on your network, on your OneDrive, on your in your databases, and so on and so forth, in your SharePoint. Actually, this kind of is a nice point for a little slide I forgot I was going to show you. Is what really happens whenever you're working with Copilot and you see some of the stuff is behind a kind of a curtain that you may not even think about. There's a large language model and there's a lot of information and publicly available information that it can source and search from that knows a lot about a lot. But on top of that, when you're using Copilot for M365, what it's also doing is it has the ability to look at some context specific to your organization, your emails, your files, information from your meetings, your chats, information from your calendar, your contacts, and all of this information stays privately in your own area. So any financial information that you may check and use with Copilot, use it to be use analyze that information, that is never leaving your organization. So that's one of the good things when you use a tool like Copilot for M365 versus, say, some kind of a publicly available tool like ChatGPT or Gemini. Those are mostly made to be consumer tools. Information that you put out there about your organization could potentially be used to train a public model. And at the very least, it's information that you're uploading and accessing in a non-secure environment, which by itself is not recommended. But by contrast, everything in M365, in the Microsoft 365 tenant that you have, just like your Business Central database lives in your Microsoft 365 tenant, your CRM, if you have Dynamics 365 CRM, lives there, your OneDrive, your SharePoint list, they all live there, and they're all secure. And by the same token, that information that you upload and work with on Copilot for M365, also secure. Security models that you have in place. So if you have some emails, somebody else in your organization can't just go and search for them. They're your emails. It will follow the same rules and security that you expect from Microsoft 365 in your everyday experiences. If you have information from Business Central that you're going to be using, and we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end, it will also understand and it can respect the security that you have in Business Central, and so on and so forth. And then you are going to be accessing those experiences from these Microsoft 365 tools, like we're going to start off with. So now going back into my browser, I think I jumped the gun a little bit with that. I want to maybe start off when I was in Europe a few weeks ago for these conferences that John talked about. I traveled to a lot of different cities, and every city has different rules when it comes to parking. And I should just stop the PowerPoint. It just keeps coming back up. And I would constantly be struggling with where can I park? Where can I not park? What happens with when I park? Some places have parking machines, some places don't. And the most abstract type of information that I would typically have to go searching on Google or Bing, I can now just go ahead and ask Copilot. And so this has become my go-to for all kinds of information. So, hey, I'm traveling to Milan, need to understand parking rules. There are blue, white, and yellow parking spots. What's the difference and how can I pay for parking? By the way, when you search on Google or so on, you will never actually ask it such a verbose question. You might just say Milan parking rules. With AI, you can actually use more verbose queries. And in fact, the more verbose, the more detailed your prompt is, the better answers you can expect. Prompt engineering, and you may have heard this word, is basically the idea of using, getting the most out of your AI tools by being clear and precise, not necessarily concise, but by being precise and being giving as much information as is needed. Now, when I type in something like this, and I asked Copilot. Copilot's going to search really quickly and gives me some really good information. Look, the white zones, they're all, they allow free parking. Blue zones, they have some parking rules that they start parking pricing at about €3. Oops, I think I scrolled and I clicked somewhere. So let's go ahead and restart that experience. When I interrupt it, it thinks I am done and I'm not interested in the answer. So AI is kind of tuned, these tools are tuned to saying if I'm giving the wrong kind of answer and the reader doesn't want to read all of this, they will interrupt by clicking or starting to type somewhere else. So as it comes up with all this information, yellow spaces are reserved for residents, and then it'll also tell me where it got the information from, which is really important because we hear about AI hallucinating and making up information. So what better way to validate if this is correct or not by knowing what the sources are? And then if you need to, you can go and click on it. Otherwise, you get the information. Oh, but what about once I do park and I don't find a parking meter? What parking apps can I use to pay for my parking? And so that can be a little follow-up question. And then as I go through here, it gives me some really good ones. I ended up using Easy Park. Turns out it also works in Germany just as well as it does in Italy. A couple of these other ones only work with Italian phone numbers and so on. So this was actually something I really did and benefited from when I was traveling. And this was just kind of the tip of the iceberg. But then moving a little bit further from that type of experience, a lot of times too, when you're reading information, there's so much that they throw at you, and you may want to quickly make some sense of what's happening. So, you might look at the high cost of misaligned business and analytics goals. Harvard Business Review writes some really good articles, but as you read through some of these articles, you might find it's taking up a lot of time. If you've all heard the TLDR or too long didn't read, so you could look at something like that. Now, as you're going through this experience, if you're just looking at this, I'm going to refresh this. You don't have to do this every time. This is just to kind of get back to square one. You'll find that by default, while you're browsing, it'll tell you generate a summary about this page. So without even typing anything, I'm on this page. This page has a lot of information, and what it's going to do is generate a summary for you really quick. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Not only can it do it for web pages, it can do it for large documents you have within your organization as well. So it's giving you a summary of all the different sections that it has, alignment importance, value creation, and so on and so forth. You can have it read out to you. And if you like what it's done, you can say like, and it basically trains it, gives it positive reinforcement that the summary is indeed well written. If you think it's a poorly done job, then you can dislike, and then it will ask you, would you like me to take another try at it, and so on. At times, it may even give you two different answers and let you choose which one is better as part of its training. So these type of experiences are right in your web browser on things that you do every day. Now, let's move on from those types of things and let's actually go and see some of these experiences and how they work when you're in, say, Microsoft Word. And you might be creating a statement of work for a customer for a project you're taking on. So let's just go in. I'm going to bring up Microsoft Word and create a new file. So you have a project manager, or you have somebody in your team, could be a salesperson, in your organization who's responsible for writing statement of works or sales contracts. And you can go about this a couple of different ways. If you don't have a template at all and you're just getting started, when you're in Microsoft Word, you could say something like, draft with Copilot, give me a template for a sales contract or something along those lines. But chances are that you already have a template for a certain type of a document. What you really wanted to do is kind of create a new one, create a new Word document based on a similar template that you might have. So here, where I could just basically, give it a very simple type of, a prompt. Basically, it says generate project statement of work for Contoso services, and we are assuming that we are the fictitious company Contoso Service, and we do Business Central implementations as we do at DSWI2, using this file as a reference. Now, At this point, what it's going to do is it's going to look for me to reference a file, and I could select this, and I could start typing for files. Now, where is it getting these files? These files are coming from my Office 365 OneDrive. They can come from SharePoint and other places as well, but this is basically looking at information that's already available to me and with me. And then when I hit generate, what it's going to do is it's going to start creating a draft, and it may take half a minute to a minute because it's going to comb through that template and pull out some important things, because the statement of work could be a whole for a lot of different things. It's not just for a business central implementation. It could be for for change orders. It could be for a variety of different things. So it's going to pull out. It's going to kind of backfill in things that it thinks are specific to what we're trying to do. And when it's finished, it will give us the opportunity to say, I like it, keep it, maybe improve on it, and so on and so forth. So it doesn't just give it and force you to accept it. It gives you the opportunity to provide feedback on the content that is generated. So in this particular example, we'll let it continue on for a few seconds longer. It's going to create all the different sections as we're talking. It's adding things like tables, it's adding other information, and it's capturing that. And you see, as it does all of that information, it brings it and surfaces it up for you. You can literally see it fill information as if it were a person. Now, this whole experience while I'm doing a demo may seem like I was having to talk through instead of waiting quietly. But if, as a human, you had to take a template and repurpose that template for something else, you can easily spend anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes at the very least trying to do that. Maybe five if you're really quick. But this gets you started very, very quickly. Now, if you like this, you can keep it. If you're unhappy and you wanted to take another stab at it, you can regenerate. You can even give it some instructions, make this more formal, or change something else about it and whatnot. And then if you like or dislike the performance, you can also do that. Now, it looks like I'd actually mistyped the word and I said generate a project statement of work, which is hilarious, but it still understood what it was trying to get at. And it took my spelling errors, etc., and it still took it. So here was a great example where somebody in the organization is creating documents, and this experience can really fast track that for them and make it happen so much quicker. Now, another example of something that you could do in Word, you if you have, for instance, a document that has already been written, and let's go ahead and let's move away from the browser for a little bit. I think we're done with the browser part of our demonstration. I've got another document over here where somebody has prepared some strengths and weaknesses of leading CRM systems, and we want to maybe purchase a new CRM system at Contoso Contoso Services, and we want to make some real quick sense of the different of all this different information that's here. Now, this itself is just about 4 or 5 pages, so maybe this doesn't take that long. But you can imagine a document that's about 20 or 30 pages long. And so what you could do as you're looking at this document is you click on Copilot, and this will bring a little chat experience. And you'll see this type of chat experience common, not just in your browser, not just in Windows if you're using Windows 11 or Surface devices, but also in Word and Excel and Teams, etc. And one of the first things it does is it says if you don't really know what to do at this point, it will even give you some helpful tips like understand or summarize this in 3 points. How can I more concisely describe something? Or is there a call to action in here? Or, I can basically type in something like this where it's going to use something that's on my clipboard. So, can you summarize the document and recommend a CRM system for our business? So now here, it can do some very interesting stuff. Not only will it start to summarize, but it may even give me some personal recommendations based on my role in an organization. Now, because it's an AI system and it regenerates these every single time, it'll come up with almost like a human. If you were to ask me two or three different times the same question, I might give you a variant of that. By and large, it's going to look the same, but look at this. It's actually looking for my name and looking for some preferences and so on. But every time it generates a slightly different answer, but by and large, it's consistent with the intent that it creates. So let's let it finish generating, and then we can look at what it's done for us. So over here, it gives me, so based on the document summary here, key points. about Dynamics 365 customer engagement from Microsoft. Give me 3 or 4 points. Highly scalable and secure, uses AI analytics, but can be complex and costly with a steep learning curve. Salesforce. Now, it did not come up with this information on its own. It's not necessarily factually accurate, but it's accurate based on what is in this document. So if somebody's written this document with a bias and a twist, favoring one solution over another, you would expect that that is going to come back over here. If in a generic chat experience like the one in my browser when I was asking about parking in Milan, if I had asked it there to come up with comparison, you could have expected it to give you maybe more objective answers based on a much larger set of data that's available online, plus what its large language model knows. So over here, it is entirely basing its answers on what is in this document. Then it gives us some information about Salesforce, some information about HubSpot. And then it also says, hey, given these insights and considering your role as COO with top collaborators like Andy, our CEO, and Justin, who's our senior project manager, yeah, I would recommend Dynamics 365 customer engagement if your business is already using the Microsoft ecosystem. And so it can give you some interesting insights and not just a dumbed down summary. And those can, again, be very valuable. But as with all things, if you had an assistant or an intern who is going and sourcing information for you, you wouldn't just take that information and run into a meeting and just use it as fact. You might still take a little bit of time to validate that. And I think the responsibility to validate that information, that still falls on you, the user. What this does do for you is it will significantly shorten the time and shorten the process of getting this information. So I think that is the most important part over here. Now, moving from there, the next kind of demo that I want to move into is going into, say, Microsoft Excel. And within Microsoft Excel, I've got it's a couple of documents that I want to work through and look at. So I'm going to move away from Microsoft Word. Let's close this document. Let's open up got an Excel spreadsheet here. Now, this Excel spreadsheet has some information about our business, and I want to be able to make sense of it. As a matter of fact, I think I might have another one where it's got it's probably better formatted. Let me you know what? Let's just go ahead and run with this. So, we usually, whenever you're using Copilot experiences in Excel, one of the things you want to do is you want to auto save this in your OneDrive. Then your Copilot works, and it will be able to give you a lot of experiences. Now, the other thing that I had done, I had actually forgot to format this particular version of the file. I think did the prep and then I saved the unformatted one in my demo folder. So I'm going to do some really quick formatting here, and this is stuff that we all know how to do in Excel quite well. I want this to be a short date. This particular piece of information is dollars. This is a percentage on discount, and this is also a dollar sign. And I think this probably is just sufficient. The rest we can leave as is. So some columns about some order ID, the customer, who the salesperson was, the what we sold, and I think we'll just call this item not item variant. The price per unit, the total sale price, the the line discount, and so on. So standard type of Excel file. I think it probably has close to about 200 rows of information here. You may have thousands of rows of information, and so when I'm looking at something like this, I can bring up Copilot and start asking it some real quick questions. And one of those, maybe I want to know which salesperson had the highest net sales price for this year. So who's basically sold the most information, right? So I want to ask by columns because that's what it would understand. So if I were to go ahead, and this would be a good example of analysis, right? And being able to analyze the data that we have. So if I were to put in something like this and I have it search, and sometimes if you ask a question and it doesn't give you an answer, try again and use one of the helpful prompts because chances are you maybe have asked it in a way that it can't make sense. So if I just said which salesperson sold the most, it may not come back with an answer because it doesn't immediately understand from all these columns which one is the pro column I think I want to be able to get. But notice over here very quickly tells me Michael Wilson. is the person that sold the most. In 2023, he sold $60,000. And, it also gives me this information as a card. And maybe I want to validate this information. I want to see this pivot table. So I could say add to a new sheet. So it's not just giving me some dumb information. It gives me the ability to then validate, and I'd be able to then go, then start working with the pivot table that is created and look at more information related to it. So now it's added a top salesperson by net sales price where data is 2023 to sheet two. It's done that. Now, following on, maybe I want to know which item we sold the most of in the month of July. Just go on and you ask that question: which item sold the highest quantity in the month of July? And it's going to be able to quickly surface this. Now, with 200 rows, maybe you could have done this a lot easier, but understand how much, or imagine how much value it can bring for you when you're working with even larger sets of data. Another one, so over here, the single serve, machine sold the most in the month of July with 37 units. And again, like I did with the last one, if I want to, I can add this information to another sheet as a pivot table so that I can play with it and make other types of filters. Or I can get it to filter down by rows, show me all things for the state of Florida. And so I do this and it can also quickly filter down something for me. Now, this particular case may not be the best example because we can go, especially if we have formatted this as a table, we can go and quickly select from a drop down filter. But this kind of information, again, the ability to filter, the ability to find things, the ability to do all kinds of information for you, that can be very helpful. So it's a filtered the table to show you everything from the state of Florida, and I can add this to a new sheet. And now I have this filtered view of everything just from the state of Florida. Um, Prompted the correct way, you can also just auto filter this particular table. So this table shows on this particular screen with some ways. So these are some valuable examples of the things that you can do in a tool like Microsoft Excel that we use every day, making sense of large pieces of information, being able to pivot that, being able to highlight information that we have. And then Microsoft also has the analyze data, yeah, I guess the cousin for the Copilot, which can intelligently suggest valuable insights from the information that you have. And anytime you like one of these, like identifying outliers, which I could have asked as you look at data, it was like, show me outliers in this particular spreadsheet. And if there's some sort of data that is inconsistent, in this case, I think it found five or six. It'll highlight those, and then you can go back and look at what's causing these, what's behind these inconsistencies. So especially for like looking for predictive ideas of performance, one of the first things what we normally do is we reduce out those outliers that are peaks and valleys, and we look at information that's more consistent because those outliers are probably not going to happen again and again in a repeatable manner. So yeah, that's some demonstrations of what can happen in Excel. There's the ability for you to also create a PowerPoint slide deck, but frankly, I find that one to be a little more lacking. When's the last time that you'd really asked, an AI tool to build your slide decks for you? But you should try that one out. It can actually give you some interesting bullet points and so on in certain contexts and what have you. But here's where I do want to take you. This is a real world situation where we've had to do research on kind of a certain industry, and so you might find yourself in this experience in this situation as well. And you can ask this question whether you're in the Word Copilot, whether you are in the Windows Copilot scenario, or even in the web browser. So I'm going to go back to my web browser here, and I'm here right now in just a blank tab, whatever my MSN has. So what's on the left is a lot less important. So we'll just give ourselves a little more space here. And I'm going to start asking about a real world opportunity type of situation where we do a lot of help for customers in manufacturing industries, but every once in a while we come across a brand new industry that we know very little about. So some months ago, we were working with a prospect that was in the solar panel manufacturing space, and we found through some very high level conversations that over the last few years, a lot of solar panel manufacturers were actually coming to the state of Texas, and that this has become a very vibrant ground for companies in that space. So we can ask Copilot to do some market research for us. So working with a prospect in the solar panel manufacturing space in the state of Texas, I need some market research. right? And so this could be, if you can imagine somebody in your sales role again, maybe who's doing this, or somebody on the marketing side that needs to do some market research. Again, before your product managers, as you're creating a new line of product, you need to do some market research. This is where Copilot again can come to your rescue. And as you ask this question, it's going to come up with some, oops, yes, answer from the web instead. So it's now doing some really quick research on solar, panel boom. It'll tell us the economic impact and job creation, statewide economic ripple effects, and and so on. It gives me a lot more information about this, and I can ask it for more detail. This is just a very high level type of question on a market, and the more specific you get, I'd say, give me the names of the top five solar panel manufacturers in Texas. Uh, So it's having one issue, I think, trying to access from one data source, but that's fine. I can always ask it to search the web, which is typically what we do anyways in these scenarios. And so, very quickly I can find some top five performers. I can talk about, oh, it gives me some, places to call, and what are uh, some key struggles in this space. And here it's going to look at, oops, now it kind of started to go in a whole different space because I think it was when I typed space, it misunderstood my context. So when something like this happens, and it is still a tool at the end, and it is fully capable of making mistakes. So if it misses your context, all you have to do is ask again. So give me some key pain points in the manufacturing, solar panel manufacturing industry. And in this particular context, I liken this to having an intern or an assistant who can go and spend hours doing some market research and give you a brief so that you can take that brief and go to a meeting prepared, right? So it's kind of preparing for a meeting, and so that you have the requisite information. How much time would you have spent if you had to Google search? Try Google searching or Bing searching for it. You will get 20 links, and you're going to have to go through each one of those links, read through, in this case, this got information from six different websites, read through, surface, and then summarize all this information. And all of this took us what? Less than a minute, right? This can be really quick. So again, another persona, another type of great use case for a tool like Copilot. What I want to do is I want to take this experience next to Microsoft Outlook. And in Microsoft Outlook, I'm going to bring up, as a matter of fact, let me just bring the Outlook web experience. And here I'm going to use Outlook Copilot again from right up here in the browser. If you're in Outlook, the desktop app, it's also available over there. And I can have it, find and summarize an email for me. So our marketing team, Quiet Owl, well, we've been meeting with them a lot because we're basically doing some work to improve our inbound lead generation, right? And to create some content that would draw people into our website. And so when I was meeting with Jessica the other day, and she sent some information, some action items. So I'm just going to look at some emails from Jessica. Um, and this was one that I flagged. I wanted to use this particular one. And here I could actually say summary by Copilot. So this is a fairly long, this is a lot of different pieces of information. It's going to give me something I can read in 30 seconds. Jessica sent an email summarizing the progress and next steps, the website performance highlights. She gave me, talked about the discovery questionnaire, Power Automate campaign that we were going to do. She discussed some stuff about that and landing page optimizations, and she gave an update on BC pricing form and Navision keyword search. So I can look at this very quickly, and gives me all of that information in 30 seconds that I might have taken longer. Or another one to look at, we get some emails from companies that just tell us information about businesses that are selling. And again, in this situation, a lot of information usually comes in, and you can use summarize by Copilot again over here to give you a summary of what's in this particular email. There's other helpful information here as well where it can craft an email for you, or as you start typing an email, you could train it to say answer in a user-friendly way, answer formally, answer informally. I tend to use the generate email experiences a lot less. Maybe that is valuable for somebody in your team, especially somebody who feels they need a little more help with their writing style. So, but if that is the case, again, you can draft with Copilot as you're composing an email. But Summarize is definitely a tool that I tend to use a lot, almost all the time, every day. Uh, I want to move this to yet one more place, and then we'll kind of start going in a whole different direction. We'll start summarizing and talk about a couple of things more. Microsoft Teams. I love Microsoft Teams. We're having this meeting on Microsoft Teams. We do so much every single day in Teams. I don't know what we would do, where we would be without it. But as we're working with Teams, sometimes it can be a mixed bag experience, especially if you've been in a long meeting and the meeting's recorded, and then you're trying to get some information out of it. So in this particular case, what you'll find is I'm going to basically pull up a specific meeting that I've had again with our marketing folks. So this is David David and Jessica are in the same team. We'd met in April, and when I go into any kind of a team summary, one of the things that I do, and you can start searching for a meeting over here. So I could say David Andrews and AJ Ansari. So I'll kind of search for it. It will find that particular chat for me, and there's a lot of stuff going on. But if you have a Copilot for M365 license, you'll find, in addition to this chat summary or chat history and whatever else we shared, you'll find a recap tab. Click on recap, and it's going to show you the video, some really cool things that are experiences that are out here as well, where I can see every time David and Maddie spoke, every time Kyle spoke, every time I spoke. There's also a full transcript that I can search through if I wanted to. But this is where the value starts to really show. AI notes can start giving me a really quick recap on everything that was discussed, and it can also give some follow-up tasks. But if you find that these are not sufficient, because sometimes it does have, it may just give you one or two, and there may be more action items. This is where, once again, you just link up or bring up Copilot, and it brings up the tab for you. And it also brings up any historical information that I talked about, but we're going to kind of search for it. So I'm going to ask a quick prompt and say, what are the action items from the meeting? And I could have also said for me in the meeting, right? But in this case, I just want to highlight and speak some of those, and bring that up. And it's going to parse through and give me action items, or Cheryl will update the Business Central page. AJ will work on changing the table, do a stoplight type of grid. Kyle will add some historical data. Cheryl will work check with Arlette. So all the things that we think we need to do, it'll quickly surface that. And if I wanted to ask some more questions about X, Y, or Z, I can ask it some questions and all that. So what did David say about so and so? What was the general sentiment in the meeting? If you are somebody who's monitoring call transcripts for quality and training purposes, you could ask questions like, does this person seem knowledgeable? The most important part, though, is each individual that you want to analyze performance for, or specifically get information on or identify, has to join separately on a Teams meeting. So if you're six people in a room, that's one of the places where you might find the value doesn't shine nearly as much. Now, even if you did not have a recap tab, or you found a recording from another meeting that you were part of, but as long as that meeting is publicly available in your organization's SharePoint, so I can just start by looking for meeting recordings in the interest of time. There was one from a marketing meeting that we had. Yeah, let's go ahead and look at this. So when I click here, it's going to open up in my SharePoint the meeting recording. You want to start off over here. Hold up. Instead of clicking that way, let me just go to first the chat, and there, let me open up the in SharePoint. There you go. When I open it this way, it opens it not just as the video, but all the supporting information. Now, this particular meeting, I think because I was not the organizer, for some reason, I don't see the recap option in Teams. But even though I didn't see it there, because it's on my SharePoint under the Microsoft Stream area, I can still run an analysis of this meeting. So I could say, recap the meeting. And it will, this was a meeting that ran for, think about an hour or so. And I can quickly get a transcript without having to watch the full hour and make complete sense of it. You would be surprised how invaluable this tool was for us. On our website, we had some discussion. We had a meeting to highlight some comparisons between Business Central and its core competitors, NetSuite and Acumatica and Intact. And we were able to surface all the information from that and get a table built out for us that we then used on our website courtesy of Copilot. So in this particular example, if we go to, this is our DSWI website, and under Business Central, this table was created as a result of conversations that we had with our team members and our marketing team. It was able to surface out the categories that we talked about. And then it did not give us this output. It gave us a small, few word description on each of these points that we talked about by product and backfill some stuff. And then our marketing team went to work and assigned some more qualitative visuals like, bullet points or 4 or 5 stars for each product. But again, something like this would have taken days, I think it kind of cut it down to just a few hours, maybe barely a day to get all the information out. So those were across all of the different Office 365 tools you use every single day in your organization. And what I want to do is take this conversation into a slightly different place, one more different place, kind of like the wait, but there's more. What if you could make your own Copilot, right? What if you were able to take your own information, create your own chatbot, and a chatbot that could help maybe your team members? So you have your expense report policies, your HR manual, maybe a whole lot of other information that's already been prepared that sits somewhere in SharePoint, but people don't always know where to go. And you're constantly getting questions to managers about how do I do this? Where is that file? Where do I find this? And so on. You could make a chatbot with Copilot Studio that lets you enhance and bring it to the surface, makes it easy for your team members to chat and find the information. Or what if you wanted to make a customer portal where your customers could log in and ask questions about order status, or ask questions about their balance, or ask other kinds of information, a helpful tool. You can do all of that. We can help you, whether you want to learn to build them or whether you want us to build them for you. And this is what I want to leave you with. I'm not going to spend as much time under the hood with the building part of it, the building blocks, but here's what I want to do. I want to show you a couple of examples in play. So this is Microsoft Teams in a browser because this is from a fictitious organization. And just like you chat with other people in your team, you can be chatting with your copilot that's been built by you for your team. And so in this case, it's called my customer service bot. And I'm in Teams, so it's my team members who are accessing this. And so when I start the conversation, I might go like hi or whatever, and then it starts writing you back, right? And how can I help you today? And I might ask it questions like how's the weather? And so this is where it's just getting information from a public website, and it will tell me where do you live? I live in Houston. And we can come back and it will tell me it's 75 degrees, expect cloudy, windy conditions, winds up to 15 miles an hour. This is real information that it just pulled from a public website. Or maybe I want to get some information from Business Central about one of my customers, right? And so I want to know a customer's balance. So then ask me, I'm happy to help. What is the customer number in Business Central? Now, I'm going to fat finger this and type a customer number that doesn't exist. And it will tell me, oh, yep, sorry, can't find that customer number. You want to try again. And, and this, depending on how you build out your bot, it might just ask you again, hey, do you want to enter the customer number again? Or it will end that conversation there. Here, I'm going to type in a real customer number in Business Central. I could have even had a customer name, but now it just in less than 5 seconds, grab that information, from Business Central with this customer balance. And it can even let me drill down to the customer record in Business Central or to a list of customers. Here, I had it mapped just to a list of the customers page in Business Central. So as you're looking at that, it will give you the information, it'll pull this up, and then I can go to my customer trade research and I'll be able to see this kind of information. I could also ask it questions like order status or, check in order status and so on. And it starts asking me a chain of questions. It might tell you, hey, do you know your order number? You don't know the order number, that's fine. Otherwise, you might say my order number is 2000 ABC or whatever the case is. You type that in, and then it will say, I'll check on that for you. Hey, this is scheduled for shipping on this day. It's set for second day air delivery by UPS. And then it might have other questions you may want to change or update or status cancel and all those things. So this experience could be in Teams. You can also build this experience out on a website like your own. You can put it on Slack, on Facebook, on Twitter, all kinds of different areas that you interface with your people. And so all of this information can be surfaced in these types of places. You can also have it search your website for information. Or if you have documents like a customer service manual, an employee guide, or so on, you can also upload those files to help it quickly come up and surface information or point it to something or SharePoint or OneDrive. So all of those experiences are things that we can help with. I think we're at the top of the hour. Fortunately for me, I'm also on the last slide of demos. At this point, I'd like to open up for any questions that you have. And as we do that too, I want to thank you for being here at this webinar. I'll stick around for a few more minutes to answer any questions. For anybody who isn't able to ask today, feel free to reach out to us afterwards. Find me on LinkedIn. I love to engage there. Send us an email if you'd like to. Uh,